Happy Monday, boys and girls. What's going on, guys? GoodMicWork back at you with your Monday Night Raw, April 27th, 2020 review. The show just wrapped up. Another tough one to get through, but, it wasn't without its discussions. It's just, God, some of this is really tough to watch. Very long 3-hour show tonight, very long. I don't expect the ratings are going to be very good tomorrow, but there were a few things that took place on the show that I thought were not bad, and a really fantastic title match that took place as well. So, not the greatest show in the world by far, but I think there's enough on there to at least talk about a couple of bright spots and not have to be too cynical in this review, because nobody needs that shit. You know what I mean? How you guys doing? Good to see everybody in here so far. We'll see what kind of an audience we have tonight for this Raw that probably not a whole lot of people watched. Some of us were joking tonight on Twitter even that we should watch a Raw from 1994 or just do something else. Some of you weren't even watching the show and just watching Twitter instead because that's more entertaining. Yeah, Quarantine TV is back. You guys can hear me, right? Let me make sure. See everybody. Yeah, all right. I can be seen and heard. All right, right on. Good to see you, Devlin and Barry. Cool. Tim and Papa Smurf and Matt follow the dream. JL, Ian, Michael, Satan is here. Nice. Good to see you, man. I really thought we're going to talk about the Apollo and Andrade match. I thought they were kind of setting up for a title change there. I mean, it has been 2 months since Andrade defended the title. Like, he's way past the 30-day thing that is supposedly the rule. And the way they set everything up in that extremely long opening match, and then the bitch slap heard round the world backstage setting up the title match, and Andrade just came off a wellness policy suspension, I kind of thought all the stars were aligned there for a title change, and we didn't get that. Apollo stayed somewhat protected with the ref stoppage, but still, I kind of thought that if we were going to see it, it might be tonight, because, the ratings sucked last week. They want us to talk about something on this show, so just a random title change kind of out of the blue would at least get some buzz, and a lot of people like Apollo, and I think that would have been a positive thing to do. But it's not necessarily over for him. They're running the knee injury angle there, and who knows, hopefully his character will be okay for Money in the Bank. If not, it would be really cool to see him get that shot again and then win it. Maybe in a main event of Raw, which would be really cool. So even though I kind of wanted to see it tonight, they didn't do it, and who knows why. But yeah, Raw, what would you grade it out of 10 tonight? I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. I think that's the best I can do on this Raw. And the only thing that gave it that big of a score was the United States title match, because Apollo and Andrade did work their asses off in that. So we'll run through the results here. I'll shoot the shit a little bit to see if any more people start filing in. The last couple of Raw reviews have been huge numbers-wise so far. Not looking too good. Less than 100 folks in here, but we'll see. Good to see you in here as well. E-Money and JL, what's up, dude? Yeah, Jinder Mahal made his return tonight. Fightful Select had broken that earlier on in the day, so I was aware that Jinder would be wrestling tonight, but I didn't really know what he was going to do. He pretty much squashed Tozawa, and I think it's pretty safe to say that Jinder and Drew McIntyre will be headed for a showdown at some point. Now, we'll talk about that later on, too. You can't... I saw some people complaining about, oh, God, not Jinder and Drew or whatever. Like, you can't not do that match. There's way too much history there and way too much of a similar kind of path that they both took. You can't ignore that. You have to do a match. But what I don't want to see is like a full-blown program, where it spans a pay-per-view or two, and I certainly don't want to see that be the WWE title match at SummerSlam. Hell no. At least it means that Drew would probably win, but I think you can do better kind of thing. So whenever that confrontation happens, which it will, I'm hoping it'll just be like in the main event of a Raw. I think that'll be a better environment or better setting for a match like that, because, main eventing a pay-per-view, unless it's an in-between one, unless it somehow happens between now and SummerSlam, I guess no harm done. I just don't want to see any sort of a 90-day program. That would be way too much, and I'd grow tired of it almost instantly. So we'll see, but Jinder's back, and, we'll get into that too. Hope you guys are all doing well into our, 6th or 7th week, whatever we're on now, into this pandemic. Everybody's still, for the most part, sitting at home. Things are slowly starting to reopen, but for the most part, we're all still affected by this and going to the store and wearing our face masks and sanitizing everything, and who knows when this will ever end. We might be looking at months of social distancing, but hopefully, at some point this summer, we can start returning to a semblance of our normal lives. And I hope in the meantime, you guys are hanging in there and just dealing with the isolation and dealing with this being at home stuff and not going too crazy. That's why we're here, to hang out, talk wrestling. Incidentally, Barry is here. It's good to see him because I have got a watch-along coming up that Barry is sponsoring that's scheduled for Thursday. Ran into a little bit of a hiccup, though, but I think we'll still be able to do it. Barry wants me to watch a classic Monday Night Raw from, I think, 2006, and we're going to do that on Thursday. And it's going to be like a watch-along, but it's also going to be live. So kind of what I thought I could do in terms of being able to, for people to be able to follow along on Thursday, because watch-alongs are hard to do in a live format. I can just set up a second camera. I got a few webcams, and I can just kind of fixate one on the timer of the screen because I can't show the actual show. But if I fixate the camera on the timer on the WWE Network, people can kind of sync it up there. But what I kind of forgot about is that if you stop moving your mouse around, the timer and the, you know, the status bar kind of goes away. It doesn't stay there. So we'll still be able to do it, and we'll just kind of hang out. I'll start it once, and then I'll still put the camera on there, and every now and then I'll jiggle the mouse so the timer will come up in case people want to pause it or sync it or watch it later. That's the only issue there. But it'll be a fun kind of random weeknight hangout. You know, we're all looking for things to do. We're all bored off of our ass. So Thursday night, if you got nothing planned, join me exactly at the time that this episode or that this live stream started, 8 p.m. here on the West Coast and 11 p.m. on the East Coast. And it'll be 5 p.m. for Barry, who lives in Hawaii. So anyway, we're doing that Thursday. I'll have a link up soon. Stay tuned if you want to come hang out and watch a much better Monday Night Raw on Thursday night, just for shits and gigs. It's going to be fun. All right. Anyway, let's start rolling into Raw results now that we have some more audience members in here. Also, do me a favor, thumbs up. Really helps the channel. The more thumbs up I get, the more it helps me. Let's just say that. So please, let's get those thumbs up, up, up. Let's get into the show. We'll start off with the opening segment, which was kind of long. The whole first segment, first match, took up the first 45 minutes of the show. By the way, I am drinking a Frosty Brew tonight, just because I felt like it after a show like this. Anyway, the MVP Lounge has opened up the show. We saw MVP a couple of times on tonight's Raw, and he's out there. Now, he just lost a qualifying match like a week or two ago, and he's going to do an MVP Lounge with all three Raw Money in the Bank contenders or competitors, and that's Rey Mysterio, and who else is it? Rey Mysterio, Apollo, and Aleister Black. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this, and it's just such a minor nitpick, I mean a really minor nitpick, is that Aleister Black, you know, I know he's not like The Undertaker where he's pretending to be, you know, a dead demon or something like that. I understand he's a human being, but, you know, and he's a little bit more normal, but still, just given his whole presentation, I don't think he should have sat down on the couch, you know? It's just a little thing. I think he should have remained standing or stood behind the couch or maybe stood in the corner quietly, just standing there making sure nobody gets out of line. I don't think he should have been like playing along. That's just me. If I was out there, if I was booking that segment, I would have told him to stay standing. Not a big deal, though. MVP kind of runs down the guys a little bit, insults, I think, Mysterio, wouldn't let him talk. They're interrupted by Zelina Vega's stable, who I was really excited about for about 4.5 seconds when it looked like they were going to establish them as something kind of serious. And the last couple of weeks, they've suffered some pretty big losses here. So when they came out to interrupt and talk shit on the mic, they get in the ring. It leads to a fight. Of course, they go to a commercial. This is the, you know, one of the more classic templates that WWE uses in every segment. You know, people are out there, more people interrupt, they jaw jack, they fight, go to commercial, come back, tag team match. So as they're signing off, you hear Tom Phillips saying what's going to happen with these 6 men? You know, like, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? We're going to come back from the commercial and we're going to have a 6-man tag. And that's exactly what we had. Now, in this also, I thought that this would be a good opportunity to throw Zelina's stable another bone. They've had a couple of losses here. They could just pin Apollo, who, even though he seems like he's building a little bit of momentum, you know, he still is nothing really that special on the roster yet. So you just pin him. It keeps Aleister Black safe. You don't have to pin your legend Rey Mysterio. And it's finally a good, decent, solid win for Zelina's crew. And they had 2 different commercial breaks during this match as well. So it was really long. And I thought it would have been a good way to maybe bounce them back a little bit. It's not going to maybe repair the damage to all the losses they've already had, but at least it gives them a solid victory, because a loss here would be like, Jesus, what are they doing to these guys? But anyway, they lost anyway after Apollo Crews pins Andrade. So even though I was skeptical of that finish, I understood why they did it after the match, because after the babyfaces won, you cut backstage, you've got Andrade kind of mad about the loss. Who interviewed them? Charlie? And he's a little bit mad about the loss. He even blames his teammates a little bit. And I'm like, Jesus, WWE, you literally just put this faction together. They just put them together a few weeks ago, right? So they're already teasing dissension. They're already talking about splitting these guys up. Can we try first? I just thought that was like awfully fast. So I'm hoping that doesn't amount to anything and they at least give this faction a chance to do something. But I feel like with all the matches they've lost now, what's the point? At some point they'll start splitting up, start arguing with each other, and then Zelina Vega will have to choose, and there will be a heel turn or a babyface turn involved somehow in there. And Andrade, I guess he kind of leaves, and then Apollo Crews, all confident, all basking in the glory of his victory from earlier on, he shows up and he's gets on Andrade's face, and he unleashes one of the hardest TV slaps. I mean, this was a Dr. D to John Stossel level slap here, where he just knocked Andrade so hard that it loosened 3 of my teeth. And that was great shit. I like that Apollo, because he seemed really like, don't get in my face, bitch. And he just slapped him, and I like that confidence. That's what, the greats have. And you don't really see that out of Apollo. We haven't really seen, he's a very happy guy. He's a very hardworking guy. He's an extremely athletic guy, but he doesn't have anything that special about him yet. So to see something like that, I'm like, all right, there you go, Apollo, because he's too talented not to, succeed. They need to do something with him, and he should have some victories and hold some titles at some point in the future. So that led to a future United States title match later on in the show. And you kind of wonder, you're like, maybe this could be it for Apollo. It's been 60 days since Andrade's even defended the title. He just served a wellness policy suspension. Felt like, everything was kind of lined up for a title change here, but we'll talk about that later. The next match we had was a triple threat, which was interesting because when I saw this thing advertised, I'm like, how are they going to do this? They've got Shayna Baszler taking on Nia Jax and Asuka. So these are arguably the 3 biggest badasses on the Raw roster, maybe minus Becky. And all 3 of them are kind of are considered to be badasses. Nia Jax just returned. They're clearly pushing her just to troll the fans, I think. And Baszler, is probably still on pace to potentially win that title from Becky Lynch. So she's strong as ever, beating the hell out of everybody. And Asuka is Asuka. So what are they going to do here? No matter who loses here, it sucks. Well, the match never even got started. So they probably realized that. Well, like, oh, shit, we can't really book a winner in this thing because we're fucked no matter what we do here. So Nia Jax, I think, might have attacked first before the bell even rang. All 3 of them are brawling on the outside. Nia Jax just beats the shit out of both of them and leaves them laying. And I didn't really like that either, seeing Nia Jax knock out Baszler and Asuka. Asuka cut a promo prior to the brawl saying, I tapped out Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler will whoop her ass. So Nia is continued to be put over. She's been kind of trolling people on social media. She seems to like it. And backstage, she did an interview too with Charlie where she like screamed in her face, and like Nia's ability to be super crazy, over the top annoying, I think really helps her in terms of like heat. She's got that, like, it might even be worse than Baron Corbin, because I don't know if she even has necessarily go away heat. She has like, I hate you because you're unsafe and all that type of shit. It gives fans a reason to hate her even more. And they love that because then they feel justified. When I argued on Saturday that you give anybody else, you give somebody like Cedric Alexander the exact same 3 type of botches. Yeah, we might take notice. Yeah, we might say, Cedric, you need to be more careful, but nobody's going to want Cedric's head on a stick. So it's all about how they feel about the person. Nobody likes Nia Jax. They hate her anyway. She's already been on the shit list like twice with the fans. So naturally, anytime she does anything wrong, they're going to take it to the millionth degree and take it 10 times too far than they need to, and call for her to be fired, to be buried, to be sent to NXT, to be executed, to be shot in the head. You name it, that's what they want. And it's just a little bit out of control. So the fact that the WWE sees that, they're probably doing this just to piss them off, because the more Nia Jax pushes those buttons of the fans, whether she's doing it in an interview or she's doing it on social media, the more that gets the fans riled up. And it's kind of that same type of shit that WWE liked about John Cena. No matter how angry they got, the more the WWE almost liked it. So when you see them do certain things, you wonder if WWE's really trolling. I kind of think they are. A little bit. They're probably egging Nia on. Oh, just go online, just fuck with them, just rub it in their face and dance on TikTok and shit like that. And that's just gonna, I can feel the hurt butts from my seat right here, because there are so many. So even though Nia Jax does nothing for me, I think she's fucking terrible, really. I kind of like that she gets under the skin of people, because I don't let it bother me like that. And I like when it bothers others, and I find it entertaining, especially since we're quarantined right now, and we got to find something to do that's interesting, so I find that interesting. So anyway, let me go over here to chat, make sure nothing's going on. That ain't water, Greg. What, my beer? Tag team match playa, that's right. Wow, we got a pretty low audience in here, but I'm glad that the few of you that are here. We'll have fun. We'll make this work. We'll have a good time regardless, right? We're going to have a little party all on our own. What do we have next going on? Oh, yeah, this is another thing that kind of bothered me. So they've got Lashley. He's about to go have a match with that Denzel Desjardins kid that I think we've seen a time or two already on Raw and SmackDown. He's about to go out for his match, but before that, him and Lana are backstage, and he basically tells Lana to stay behind. Now, they've already had a whole bunch of dissension here. He already said he needed a new wife. I kind of thought that was going to be the end of it, and they'll just break them up. Is there any reason to really do like a slow burn here? You know, we know what's going to happen. It's clear, and the last thing we need is to drag this shit out. Okay, fine, break up Lashley and Lana. We're all ready for that. Do it like a Band-Aid. There is no reason to just take your time with it. Just rip it off. Let's get it over with. So it felt like more teasing here. Lashley tells Lana that he wants to go out to the ring by himself. He said, when you're out there at ringside, you're a distraction. And then she's like, how am I a distraction when I'm out there? I'm like, Lana, have you met you? You're screaming. You're obnoxious. You're horrible. You are the very definition of a distraction. So I laughed that she didn't understand that. So it's just more of that. It's going to be this slow like teasing, and then she actually is okay because Lashley covers it and he just lies. And he goes, well, baby, you're a distraction because you're just so beautiful, and your legs and your face and your tits and all that shit, or whatever he says to her. So just goes on and on about how beautiful she is, and then of course she eats it up. She goes, oh, Bobby. And then he goes out to the ring and kills that poor kid and wins his match. So can we just do this like next week or at the very latest the week after? I don't think this is something that we need to take our time on. We never needed these two to be together to begin with. Nobody believes that they're together anyway because everybody knows that Lana and Rusev are happily married, and this whole shit has been dumb since day one. And it's not like the fans need some sort of closure on it. You could just drop it for all we care. I know there'd be some fans saying, oh, they didn't explain it. It doesn't make sense. I don't give a fuck. Just end it. Doesn't need to make sense to me. I just want it gone and done with. It was dumb to begin with. And let's just wrap this up, WWE. No reason to drag it out. So we'll see what happens next week. I'm sure maybe it'll be something like where she'll talk to Bobby. Bobby, I promise I won't be distracting. You know, I'll go out to ringside and I'll, behave myself or whatever. And he like gives her a chance, and then she fucks up and costs him a match, and he gets rolled up and pinned by someone. And then he blows a stack, wants a divorce. And then, we'll do divorce court. They'll probably do something like that. How much you want to bet? Because we need more off-site stuff with, the pandemic. So what if they wound up doing a divorce court where they actually go into a courtroom and film something there? Haven't they done that before? Haven't they done a court thing? Can't remember. Feels like they've already done something like that in the past before, but if it goes that far and that turns out to be like a wedding, the main event of a Raw, and they hype it for 2 weeks, Lana and Lashley divorce court. Can you imagine how dumb it's going to be and how hokey and cheesy and silly it's going to be? The only thing that would be awesome is if Rusev was the judge. Actually, that would work. That would be a good way to pull Rusev back in and re-sign him if AEW has not yet already. They could bring him back and he could preside over the Lana and Lashley divorce court. Hey, WWE released me. I went to law school, became a lawyer that fast somehow, and put him there. I don't know, just an idea. Jinder equals money. What kind of money? What kind of money are y'all trading up? Oh, yeah, Rusev and Lana had a divorce court. Yeah, thanks. Oh, yeah, Little People's Court. Didn't Eric Bischoff and Vince have something too? Yeah, so Rusev and Lana already had that. Okay, well, now you can do Lana and Lashley. I still don't even remember. I remember the divorce court, but I can't picture it in my head. Was it in the ring? I don't know. Who cares? That shit was horrible. Anywho, what was next on my notes? I lost my place here. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is another kind of interesting match to talk about. Liv Morgan taking on Ruby Riott again. So we had this match last week, and Liv Morgan beat Ruby Riott in under 5 minutes. It was pretty decisive, and it was a big win for her. I'm like, look at that. Now, Ruby Riott has not done well. You guys have to confirm me if this is right, because I just saw the stat on Twitter and didn't fact check it, but is she 0-5 in her TV matches since being back, Ruby Riott? Who'd she piss off? But one thing I didn't want to see, and that I was convinced we would see in this match is that Ruby Riott would just beat Liv Morgan. After Liv had a pretty big win last week that I felt was, felt like WWE's trying to do things with Liv Morgan. They've changed up her character recently. She came out huge in the Lana thing, but then that went away, and then she's kind of been treading water, and now she's racking up a couple of victories, and I think she's kind of impressing some. I'm liking her new look. I like the new persona. I think she's got a good presentation. I think she's got a catchy kind of theme song, and she's not horrible in the ring. And as a matter of fact, in this match, it was a fun little match. It went a lot longer, it felt like, than last week. Liv's got a good-looking finisher there, provided she hits it right. That springboard off the second rope into a cutter, whatever the fuck that is. And that looked pretty good. And she got the win over Ruby when I was convinced that Ruby would win here in just a classic, 50-50 booking type of scenario. But instead, it was 0 to 100 booking, and Ruby Riott is now, I guess, winless since she's been back. And if she has won, it's been like one match. So she's not been doing well, but she put over Liv. I mean, if WWE wants to push Liv and they really want to do something with her, she needs to rack up some wins. Now, probably the only downfall to not doing this 50-50 booking shit is that it doesn't set up another match and it doesn't capitalize any further on the Riott Squad's history. You had 2 matches back to back, they're done, and the issue is done, where you could have maybe done a little bit more here, where you didn't have 2 matches back to back on TV, but you had some segments, maybe a little rivalry, like an actual feud, which is what I talked about this week as well. When we talked about the women's division, it feels like the titles have a storyline, but nobody underneath them really does. There's no real programs or real issues being developed. A lot of random matches and a lot of rematches. And even if there is something like Liv and Ruby who have history, it's not capitalized on. It feels like all of their creativity tries to go towards the world title, and they forget there's other people on the roster. So I think some of the women that are not in the title picture need to have their own separate issues that last more than 2 fucking weeks. So I feel like maybe they could have done more with this, but also at the same time, I'm happy that Liv got 2 back-to-back victories, and that should be the end of that. If they do another match next week and then Ruby wins, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So if you're going to push Liv, push Liv. But now it kind of leaves her with nobody to work with, and unless she's just going to come out there and win random matches, you can only do that for so long. So I think Liv needs another issue with someone, and maybe that could be a returning Sarah Logan. I don't know, but I think Liv needs somebody else to work with that's meaningful, that they can just have some sort of a little like kind of rivalry that the fans care about, because now Liv ain't got nowhere to go. I don't know. What do y'all think? Dante Zim 1. Thank you, man. Appreciate the $10. Good to see you. Hey, GoodMicWork, just want to show some love. Thank you. Well, thank you, dude. Appreciate you hopping in here and showing the channel some love. You guys are great. Appreciate everybody that hangs out with us. Whether it be a Saturday or a Monday, these are fun streams. Yeah, 0-5. That's right, huh? Damn. Oh, what's up, What's up, Nick? You missed me. I thought you'd been in here in some of the chats. Have you not been here lately? Well, it's a small group tonight, so we got a little intimate stream going on here. This is kind of fun. Liv and Paige. I don't know how Liv and Paige can do anything. Paige can't wrestle. But yeah, like what does she do now? I don't know. I just hope that they continue this with Liv, because it feels like they're, she's gaining a little bit of momentum, but I don't think she's really in position to be in the title picture at this time. A lot of people have asked too. I'm on the fence about it. I don't know how I feel, because I don't feel that the women's divisions all spread out throughout the shows are all that strong to potentially support a second title. And some people have wondered about adding a second women's singles title. If you did, I think it would absolutely have to be a situation like the tags, where they can go to all the brands, because if you have a singles title just on one show, that's going to, everybody's going to get a taste of the title within the first year. Like, they'll literally put it on everybody. Look at the North American title in NXT. How many times that belt has changed hands in its short lifespan? I think a title like that on the women's division on one show would be even worse. So I'd be open to adding a second singles title, provided that it could be defended on all the shows, all 3, including NXT. And if that's the case, Liv Morgan would be a perfect person, to contend for that based on what they're doing with her. So I kind of think maybe that's something you want to do. Normally, I don't think more belts is the answer. Normally, I think adding belts is kind of an non-creative way to do things. But under the circumstances, you need something. You need something to fight for if you're not fighting for the main titles. And maybe that's what you need. Women's Intercontinental title. What's wrong with that? I don't want to see a women's IC and a women's US, but we no longer have the beautiful, gorgeous Intercontinental title right behind me right here that's been replaced by that ugly ass thing that they use now. But maybe if you made a women's Intercontinental title, it could be that style. It could be smaller and, maybe a little more feminine looking, but have that kind of same design faceplate. I think that would look good. I think a title like that, a mini version of the Intercontinental title, the classic, would look good around the waist of someone like Liv Morgan. What do y'all think? At least that's something, to cling to the past of that gorgeous title that they've thrown in the trash can. Not sure if I'm ever going to get over that. I don't know. Oh, man. So they did the injury angle with Apollo to officially knock him out of Money in the Bank, so he's out? Yikes. Well, are we getting to that match next? No, not yet. We got one more match to talk about before we get into Apollo. Jinder Mahal, like I said earlier, when we opened up the show, he did return tonight. Fightful Select had broken that story earlier on in the day, so I was aware that he was going to be on the show, but I didn't know what he was going to do. And he took on Akira Tozawa here. And Akira Tozawa is a pretty prominent player in NXT in the Cruiserweight title, and I didn't really like to see him put in here to be used as an enhancement talent for Jinder Mahal. Especially when you had like other enhancement talent, like the tag team we would see later, and the Denzel kid. Just put one of those guys in the ring with Jinder, not fucking Akira Tozawa. But anyway, Jinder beats him, of course. He looked a little bit different. His hair was shorter. I couldn't tell if he looked smaller in the body or a little bit leaner. I couldn't tell if it was just the effect of him not having the bushy hair anymore. But he looked pretty good in the ring, and they put him over and even announced him as a former WWE champion. So they're not going to let us forget that shit. And I think a match with Drew McIntyre in the future is an absolute certainty. Now, like I said before, one thing that I don't think any of us really want here is a WWE title program, but you can't not do this match. You can't say, oh, I don't want to see that match. You have to, man. It's fucking 3MB, and the history between these two guys and the fact that they had really similar career paths. Being in 3MB is a joke faction, being released, coming back, both winning world titles. Drew McIntyre, in my opinion, has just done it much better and is much better than Jinder. And a lot of people were really turned off by Jinder's run, but I thought WWE at least deserved just a shred of credit for at least trying something, putting somebody else over, maybe making another JBL type of character. But people really had a tough time accepting Jinder. Some did, though. I mean, some did like him. I was just never a huge fan, but I had nothing against like him personally. It wasn't that I didn't think he earned the opportunity. He worked very hard to, build himself back up and even changed his physique dramatically. And WWE gave him a shot. That's what it's all about. And wrestling is about opportunities. Some get them and the opportunities work. Some get them and the opportunities don't. And Jinder really never got over, and people didn't really want him anywhere near the title, and he hasn't been since. So I think when he faces Drew, he's going to get beat severely by him, clearly. So what I think here is you should at some point, maybe between now and SummerSlam, I don't know how long you can wait on something like this, but maybe in between two really big title matches with Drew, or if his issue with Seth Rollins continues beyond Money in the Bank, maybe in between that on Monday Night Raw in the main event one week, you do Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. Maybe Drew comes out the night after winning a victory over Seth or something, or whatever happened the night before. He's interrupted by Jinder, who wants a title shot, and then he says okay, and then he beats him in the main event, and then he still goes on to have a rematch with Seth. Something like that is what I would prefer to see with those two when the match happens. Just put that shit on Raw. And even if you have to do two matches, fine. If you want to do one match on Raw and then a rematch the next week, that's fine too. But just don't give me a 90-day program here, because I will go out of my mind. My mind will be out, y'all. Can you do me a favor? Keep smashing the thumbs uppers for me. I'd appreciate that, guys. All right, now we're on to Andrade and Apollo Crews, because this was all really interesting. So I mentioned in the beginning they had the big 6-man tag to open up the show, where Apollo pinned Andrade. Then we headed backstage where Andrade's pissed, and he gets bitch slapped so hard that it loosened my teeth, and that led to a U.S. title match later on in the show. So Andrade's putting his title on the line for the first time since like February. It's been a long-ass time since he's defended the United States title. And like I said earlier, when you think about everything, and with them trying to do something with Apollo again, remembering that he's actually on the fucking roster, he's been on TV lately, he's qualified for Money in the Bank, he's had a couple of good victories, and people are starting to remember how good he is. And you also have Andrade, who's fresh off a wellness suspension, and he hasn't defended the title in forever. you should do it here. You should do it here. But they didn't. They ran an angle where Apollo tweaked his knee, tweaked it twice, once diving off the rope, I think, for a frog splash and fucked it up, and then once off the ring apron or something. So he's kind of selling the knee, putting up a fight, trying to fight through it. The referee eventually deems that he cannot compete and calls for the bell, and Andrade retains the title. And they even show Apollo after the match kind of hobbling backstage on crutches with his knee iced up, and he's approached by Charlie Caruso, who asks him how he feels, and he's like literally crying. So that's a tale of two Apollos there, because earlier on in the segment with Andrade, he was so badass. I want to see more of that. And it was funny how we were like, yeah, good. This is the Apollo, this is Apollo I wouldn't mess with. The way he got in Andrade's face and just slapped the yellow off his teeth, that was awesome. And then here you just fast forward a half an hour later, and he's crying. So I didn't really like that, but I mean, it illustrated, and it probably got him a lot of sympathy too, because, he fought so hard. He was so close. That was a damn fine United States title match. For wrestling these days to be so hard to invest in with no audience and shit, this was one of these few matches that I kind of forgot about it. Not really. It's still hard to ignore that there's no fans there, but I was really able to appreciate this without having to think too much about the fact that there's no audience there. It was just a good, solid United States title match on TV. Nothing to really complain about there. And I thought a title change would have been likely, given the ratings and given the WWE probably wanting the fans the ability to talk about something after the show and discuss something on social media and get some buzz talking about Raw. But we didn't see that. We saw the match stoppage instead. So now apparently the word is I got to go online and see this for myself. But I'm guessing WWE probably announced on social media that Apollo Crews is officially out of Money in the Bank. We don't know who he's going to be replaced by. Again, I think Money in the Bank's already been filmed, so the winner of this thing has already been set. Here it is right now, 16 minutes ago from WWE. Apollo will no longer be able to compete in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match due to the knee injury suffered during his U.S. title match against Andrade. Okay, so somebody had also said earlier maybe Kevin Owens replacing Apollo Crews. That would be cool. I don't know. Kevin Owens, though, being a briefcase holder with Drew as champion is really what you want. I don't even know if you want a babyface at all with the title, with Drew as champion. If it is going to be a babyface with a briefcase, I would hold off until Drew is no longer champion, maybe. Not that a babyface can't cash in on him or anything like that, but, if WWE wants to make Drew, their next, star, they want to try to avoid any chance of him, a different babyface being booed over him. Or I'm sorry, being cheered over him. And a lot of people love Kevin Owens. And if he won that briefcase, a lot of us would want him to win that title and feel like he deserves it. And everybody is on Team Aleister right now. And I would love to see that too. Although I argue, even though I absolutely want to see Aleister Black in the title picture permanently at some point and become one of their top guys, I don't think he's somebody that would be necessarily a super entertaining briefcase holder. He's kind of dark. He doesn't say a whole lot. And he wouldn't be as fun. I guess there could be a fun element to it. He could methodically stalk, the champion and shit like that. But I just always envision heels. I always envision heels teasing and dangling that thing and reminding the champion that they can cash in at any time and just kind of having fun with it, where you have multiple false cash-ins, where, a guy will go a span of several months where he'll tease it like 3 or 4 times. How many times did Seth Rollins do that? And I even pitched the idea of maybe Seth Rollins losing the match to Drew, but then weaseling his way in to the Money in the Bank match. Remember when I mentioned that last week? And look what happened. Apollo Crews is out. So maybe Rollins gets in there and exactly what I said happens. I tweeted that, I think, didn't I? But it could also be Kevin Owens. It could also be Buddy Murphy. MVP Edge would be another good one. The ultimate opportunist, right? So if Edge comes in and takes the briefcase, that would be pretty fucking fun, But I don't know. I don't know who I'd pencil in to take it yet. We still have one spot open. Don't forget Baron Corbin is in this match too, along with Mysterio and Aleister. So Baron Corbin could be another option. He's the exact type of heel that you can see holding this thing, and he's had it once before, and WWE took it away from him, I think, as a punishment. So maybe this could be a redemption internally for him. But I know for a fact that 100% of the audience does not want to see Baron Corbin win the briefcase, but he is the type of wrestler and the type of heel that generally wins these things. The douchiest of the douche win the briefcase all the time. So if he can have that and just mock and taunt everybody with that thing and drive everybody nuts, I can see WWE going in that direction. Could you imagine? Oh my God. WWE would probably have to sell the company because they'd be doomed. Could you imagine if Baron Corbin and Nia Jax won the Money in the Bank briefcase? Oh my God. That's just the definition of suck. That would be interesting. That would make for some really interesting promos on Raw and SmackDown. My God, I can almost see the tweets right now. Anyway, up next, we had Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, a team that I am liking. And I mentioned last week that I really hate the fact that there's no audience here because these two guys are clearly two pieces of talent that WWE said, well, we're not doing anything with them. Let's shove them together, which we've seen many times throughout history. But unfortunately, with no audience there, these guys don't have a chance to like organically get themselves over to where the company's going to have to take notice and then push them. You know, not that that would necessarily matter because we've seen in modern times, unlike, you know, the New Age Outlaws that got over and turned out to be one of the greatest teams in history, you know, we saw the same type of thing with the B team. They got themselves over. We saw the same type of thing with Zack Ryder and some of the shit he did. And every time that seems to happen now, you know, if you're getting over is not approved, you know, by management, then they don't want anything to do with it. So Cedric and Ricochet, even getting themselves over, you know, with a live audience doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen there. But in terms of being a high-flying athletic team, you know, I mentioned this too. You know, what can these two guys, you know, what can the young bucks do athletically that these two guys can't? I argue these two guys are even more athletic. So maybe they could turn out to be one of the best teams in WWE. But given the way the tag team division is handled and stuff, that's a big if, you know, and it seems like as soon as anybody will build any momentum, WWE will just take it away anyway or end it. We've seen that with Zelina's faction tonight even. So anyway, Ricochet and Cedric, they picked up the win over these two guys, Martel and Parker, both from Quebec, which is cool. And I'm assuming the Martel kid is tributing Rick Martel, right? I hope so. Doesn't look anything like him, though, but they got beat pretty badly by Ricochet and Cedric, and I hope they continue on. You know, at least that gives them something to do, and they can have some really good matches. I would love to see Cedric and Ricochet maybe mixed up on SmackDown. Could you imagine those two in the ring with, like, New Day or Usos? Those would be some good matches. So maybe they can be traded to SmackDown or something and get into the mix over there in that tag team division, since it really seems to be a 3-team division over there. Finally, on Raw, we had the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre for their Money in the Bank WWE title match. Jerry Lawler is presiding over this thing. Luckily, Drew McIntyre sent Lawler away. He goes, you know how these things usually end, so if you know what's good for you, get the fuck out of here before me and Seth shove a packet of ramen noodles up your ass. So Lawler leaves. That's great. Seth comes out there. He's wearing a suit and a black glove. That doesn't look weird at all. Drew, you know, is sitting in the chair. He's wearing a leather jacket, and Seth is going on and on. Seth really feels like he has to win this title. He's doing it because he has to do it. That's why I accepted your challenge, because I have no choice. You know, the fans need me as a savior. And he basically goes on and on. Drew lets him go through this whole spiel here. And then Drew is like, Seth, basically, I think you're full of shit. Not bleeped, nothing. Shit on the USA Network. So I swear every week or every other week, what's the average here? Dynamite and WWE all throw the word shit at us. I think it's great because I'm still old school. You know, when I was growing up and shit, you couldn't say that shit on cable TV. So the fact that you can now is still pretty amazing to me. You know, even when Brett did it, I lost my mind back in 1997, and they had to really go out of their way to be able to make that happen. And now it seems pretty regular on TV. So it's kind of cool to see Drew call out Seth for his nonsense and basically just says, you know, everything you said is horseshit. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. Signs the contract, and then Seth signs it as well. And then as soon as he does, Drew grabs Seth's head, slams it on the table, beats the shit out of him, and is about to fuck up Seth good until Buddy Murphy runs in to make the save. And really sweet, emotional hug between Seth Rollins and Buddy as they embrace, and Seth thanks him for helping him out. And then as they're hugging, Drew is running towards them to Claymore them, and Seth gets out of the way, and poor Buddy takes one right to the face. So as soon as Murphy comes out and helps Rollins out, he gets nailed with a Claymore. Now, it's interesting here because the Authors of Pain are kind of out of commission right now, so you only have Murphy as a part of the Monday Night Messiah. And I'm not expecting, I said this right when Drew won the title, I said, I think a good first solid opponent for Drew to face and beat and establish him as somebody not to be trifled with is Seth Rollins. I don't give a shit that he just lost to Kevin Owens, and it doesn't make sense that he gets a title shot. I don't care. He's a quality opponent who's beaten Brock Lesnar twice, including once at WrestleMania, completely clean. He is the strongest wrestler currently on your roster right now and the biggest contender and the number one on the PWI 500. He absolutely should be a guy that Drew should beat, just so people know that Drew is serious business. And WWE is treating him seriously by having him beat somebody like that. So I thought Seth would be a great first opponent. Now they're doing it here, but with Seth's Monday Night Messiah being so depleted, but them also not dropping the angle, I kind of thought they were going to drop it. And Seth still trying to, put on this act that he's the savior and everything. I wonder, could he add some members? Could we get a new member or members and they could have something to do with the title match at Money in the Bank? And could they take the belt off of Drew McIntyre and put it back on Seth Rollins? Now, if they did that, you could have Kevin Owens win Money in the Bank. You could have Aleister Black win Money in the Bank, and they could then cash in on Rollins, and then you got a brand new champion. But why would you do that to Drew? Maybe there's one reason they're doing that to Drew. Maybe they feel bad about the fact that he had to win the title at WrestleMania and he never got that chance. So maybe they're going to take it away from him in order to give him that chance again when the fans are let back in the building. I don't know. Like, what if we're able to have a SummerSlam? That's a big if, but what if we're able to have a SummerSlam with a full audience? Maybe they want to have the rematch at SummerSlam so Drew can win the title and have the big moment in a main event in front of an audience. I think I'm stretching there a lot to justify that, but maybe that's something WWE was thinking, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Drew's going to retain throughout the summer, and we shouldn't even have the conversation about him dropping the belt until we get to SummerSlam. After SummerSlam, it feels like it could be a free-for-all. You got Money in the Bank. You're going to have hopefully a briefcase holder, out there. I don't know where the briefcase will land. Do you think it'll land on Raw or SmackDown? I don't really know. I almost think like it might be better on SmackDown because Drew is your more established champion on Raw. They clearly want to push Drew. They clearly might be looking for another Roman Reigns or a replacement for Roman Reigns, where on SmackDown, the title isn't a mess. Goldberg just lost to Strowman because Roman backed out of the match, and now Strowman's probably going to pass it off to Bray Wyatt. Since there's no real firm grasp on the title there, a briefcase holder might be better on SmackDown. WWE might want that for Fox. They might want the briefcase holder on Fox. It's very possible. You know what? And if they did that, I'd be fine with it. Because, I think Drew can keep himself occupied with the challengers he has right now on Raw. He's got Seth on the horizon. He's going to have Jinder Mahal on the horizon. And then by then, it's going to be, the summer will be over. And he can work with somebody else, hopefully. I don't know. What do y'all think? Biggest social distancing party of the summer. I could totally see that tagline. Hell yeah. Well, just like that, I'm through my Monday Night Raw notes. And we're having a Jekyll and Hyde week here. Last week we had 800 people here in the chat. This week we got 150. So don't know what's going on. Probably because Raw just sucked tonight and not a lot of people watched it. I'm going to go over here, cruise over here to Twitter. Yeah, today is actually the 22-year anniversary of DX invading Nitro. I was at that show. It's interesting, too, because I was at Unforgiven the night before, and then I was at the DX invading Nitro Raw, and then I was at the Raw taping the next night, where you had the the Falls Count Anywhere match with Cactus Jack or Mick Foley or Dude Love or whatever the fuck, and Terry Funk, that crazy match in Richmond. I was at all three shows, but back in 98, the dates also matched up, Yesterday was Sunday for Unforgiven, today was the Raw, and tomorrow was Raw taping. So it actually is 22 years ago to the very day, that DX drove the Jeep up to Nitro. That was a fun time. I'll never forget being in that crowd, watching that on the Titantron, because back in those days, the Titantron, you couldn't even see it as clear, because it was almost like a movie screen. So if you were, it was like a vinyl screen or something. So if you're looking at it from a certain angle, you couldn't really see the picture that well. So I was kind of at an angle from my vantage point, but also, the audio wasn't as strong back in the day. So all I can see is a, kind of a dark picture of DX with helmets on, and I can't really hear what they're saying because the audience is talking. So I'm not hearing what they're saying. I'm just looking at them, and then I see their armbands where it says POWCW. And then I finally hear Triple H say WCW, the wrestling. When he says that, I hear him. I'm like, holy shit, what are they doing? And then everybody kind of shuts up to watch, and then, you know, we're all watching this from inside, and I'm like, holy shit. Because we knew that Nitro was in Norfolk. We even wondered, like, oh, that's weird. They're really close to each other. So the fact that WWE went there still, to me, blows my mind. That still blows my mind that they did that, and they were legally able to do it, and they put it on TV and mocked WCW openly right when they started putting the pressure on. I mean, WCW was dead. I think they had already lost, you know, the ratings about a month before that. WWE was starting to, you know, make the comeback, and now, you know, now it's revenge time for all the shit that WCW pulled with them, and they're giving away the results and having the upper hand for so long. Now WWE's saying, oh, you guys are fucked now. So that was a really big night in the Monday Night War history, was when that happened, because I think that might have turned a lot of people too, you know, back over to the WWE brand. Like, damn, they actually fucking did that. So big night 22 years ago. I cannot believe how fucking old I am. Man, oh man. What a time, though. Devlin, thank you, man. Appreciate the $10. I really hope Lawler won't be back on commentary. Yeah, I meant to mention that right off the outset here. And thanks again, Devlin, for stopping in. And thanks for hanging out and being in charge tonight. Yeah, Samoa Joe was back on commentary tonight. I even had that at the very top of my notes, and I forgot to mention it when we talked about Raw. So that was good to see him back. Now, given that none of us want to see Jerry Lawler, and he wasn't on commentary tonight, I don't know what this means. I don't know if they just put Samoa Joe back out there tonight because Lawler was doing the contract signing and they're going to sit on it a week and see what to do, or if this is a permanent thing. Now, Joe just came off a wellness policy suspension. So WWE, just out of spite or maybe being annoyed with him that he got suspended, they're like, look, you need to get back to work. So we're going to put you back to the announce table just to bring him to TV, just to make him work. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. You know, if we're going to pay this guy, he's going to earn his money. So, and we don't know what the status of him getting back in the ring is. Apparently he was injured during that commercial or whatever. So if he can't wrestle, it's like WWE's putting him out there just to make him work. I really think that that's what they're doing. So I hope that this is permanent, because I have absolutely zero interest, in seeing Jerry Lawler on commentary. I can't stand him. He's just a complete idiot, and he just doesn't need to be out there anymore. He just doesn't know what's going on. You know, I'll even cut him somewhat slack on the ramen noodle thing. You know, he tried to explain it, and his explanation was so stupid. You know, he talked about how he observed Mauro Ranallo doing something similar, and he thinks a lot about, you know, certain ways to describe moves, but he doesn't know the names of a lot of these moves. I'm like, well, if you put in so much thought into funny little nicknames for the moves, why can't you just learn the fucking moves themselves? You know, his explanation was weak and flimsy as shit. You know, I know in Lawler's head he did not attempt and did not think he was being racist in that comment. I fully believe that. You know, that's the problem with those people, is they don't get it. You know, they don't know. So he certainly, you know, wasn't making a racist, insensitive comment. He was making like a stupid comment. So everything that Lawler does and says, I chalk up to stupidity. That Lawler's old and dumb and has no business really being out there anymore, especially when you got a company full of much more capable people. Lawler was a legend in his day, just like Jim Ross was and so many others. Lawler was as big a part of Monday Night Raw as anybody else during the heyday of Monday Night Raw, when his style of commentary was better for that time. But now he sounds like an old man who doesn't know who the wrestlers are. He had no idea who Oney Lorcan was. That made me more mad than the ramen noodle thing. The fact that he's talking about this guy, what kind of name is Oney? You know, literally talking about him like fucking Art Donovan, like he's seen him for the first time. I'm just waiting for Jerry Lawler to ask, how much does this guy weigh? He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's got no business being out there trying to help get over the stars in the ring and tell their story when he's making fucking fun of them and he doesn't know their names. And I don't understand how any fan can possibly defend him being out there. You know, what he said wasn't that bad, or people too sensitive. It's not about that. It's about him being a completely ineffective announcer. His jokes aren't funny. He doesn't do anything to tell the story. He's all about himself, going into business for himself all the time, going out of his way to tell a one-liner when it has nothing to do with what's going on TV. He's just very into, you know, his performance, you know, and him just never shutting the fuck up. So he sucks, and I want him gone. And I'm with you, Devlin. I hope he doesn't come back. Lawler can be there. I don't mind if Lawler wants to host these contract signings. I don't mind if Lawler's on the pre-show. I don't mind if Lawler does the Hall of Fame. I don't mind if Lawler does appearances or interviews or talks about his career, because Lawler has had a fascinating career. I don't even mind Lawler's presence there. He's a fucking wrestling legend. Nobody's won more title belts than Jerry Lawler. He's literally won, like, he's won in the hundreds. So Lawler's a legend, and I'll never, ever in a million years debate that. I just think his role in the WWE should be controlled and limited somewhat, and he doesn't need to be on TV every week calling a 3-hour wrestling show. He's not capable. So, and that it needs to be somebody else. So keep Joe out there. Joe is far more easier to listen to. Joe knows the fucking moves, and he also knows the wrestlers' names, so that's a plus. I don't know, call me crazy. I just think if you're going to work for the biggest wrestling company in the world, you should know the names of the competitors. Just an opinion. Not saying I have to be right, but to me, if I'm the owner of a wrestling company, I'd want my announcers to know that shit. Just me. So yeah, that's my Lawler rant there. His jokes are so bad. Every now and then he'll make me laugh. Even like 3 weeks ago, I tweeted something. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes Lawler will make me laugh. I can't remember what he said now, but it made me chuckle. So, you know, but 90% of what he says I hate. But every now and then he'll still remind you of that Lawler of old. You know, he'll just throw one out there where he'll just, even if sometimes he even makes those comments out of stupidity, but they're not harmful. They're just funny, you know, so I kind of laugh. But some of the things he says, you're just like, Jesus, Lawler, really? You know, just fucking think, dude. Use that lump that's 3 feet above your ass. Think, dude. Thank you, Papa Smurf. Lawler has won 140 titles. That sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah, replace Lawler with Aiden English. Unfortunately, our buddy Aiden was let go in the big doomsday, correct? And I like English, but I still think you got people there. You got people like Samoa Joe. What happened to Vic Joseph? What the F? That dude, I thought we liked him. Why do we boot him off? Why can't they ever make up their mind what the hell they're doing? I think there are plenty of replacements for him without having to even need Aiden English, but I'd love to see Aiden English get his job back. Speaking of WWE releases too, it was announced today that one of the furloughs was, or one of the releases or furlough, we don't know which one, was Gerald Briscoe. I am pretty sure Gerald Briscoe has been in that company since Black Saturday. I know it was like 84, you know, when he came in with the sale. And he's been there ever since. I don't recall him taking any time off. He's always been a presence there. Now, I think maybe his role today in 2020 is somewhat limited. I don't know if Briscoe is necessarily somebody that's at TV every week, but he's still in the company and has a role somewhere. And to see that 30-year relationship come to an end sucks, man. Absolutely sucks. Or 36-year relationship. So, yeah, I'm hoping that maybe he's another guy, if he's, you know, being utilized as maybe a talent scout or a consultant or, you know, brought in for bigger shows or used here or there, you know, I'm hoping he's another guy that can be brought back in. Kerwin Silfies is another guy who's been there forever. Kerwin has been there since the mid-'80s, man. About as long as Briscoe. I don't think longer, but maybe longer. But a long-ass time. So the fact that he was also one of the furloughs sucks. Again, with him, I would hope that if you're with a company for that long, it sucks that if you're with a company for over 30 years. If you're a company 35 years, you're still not safe. Damn, man. So again, I'm hoping that he'll be brought back in if Briscoe is not. But yeah, when you start hearing some of these names, you're like, oh shit, man, sucks though. Mauro being on commentary for all the shows. I love Mauro Ranallo. Absolutely love him. I think it might be overkill for me if Mauro was on all 3 shows, you know, because as much as I love him, sometimes he can go a little bit over the top on NXT. I'll never not love him, and I'll never not want him on commentary, but if I had to have him for, let's see, 2, 4, 7 hours a week, that might wear a bit thin, and he will certainly run out of rap lines to drop in his commentary and references and shit like that. Not that I understand any of them anyway, because I don't. Sometimes when my girlfriend's watching with me, she'll know what he's saying, and I don't, but Mauro's hilarious, but I think Raw, SmackDown, and NXT would be a bit much. And every pay-per-view. We don't want to hate Mauro Devlin. We want to love Mauro. Mauro needs love. Yeah, Mike Chioda is another guy. Sucks what happened to him, too. And that's what I think. I just hope WWE takes care of these people, these longtime employees, the Briscoes, the Silfies, the Chiodas, anyone else, and probably a shit ton of office people that we don't even know about who've been there for so long. Will be brought back when all of this ends, whenever that is. It's really crazy right now here too in San Diego. It is so nice. We've got the summertime vibes. It's been gorgeous and sunny and hot all week, like 100 degrees. It kind of picks you up a little bit. It makes me want to like kind of go out and just be out. But, you know, you still got to remember there's a pandemic going on. So even though it feels like, Jesus, I should go to the beach and just walk the beach or something, you know, you really still can't do that. So it's going to be weird in the thick of the summer if we still have stay-at-home orders, you know, with it being such a gorgeous day. You know, California is gorgeous year-round anyway, but it's really tough to sit indoors on a gorgeous day. You know, I've got my condo or apartment complex that I live in here. We have 3 pools. You know, I don't have to work right now. I just go out and lay out at the pool, but I can't. It's fucking closed. It sucks. So now with the heat and everything, going to the grocery store and putting that mask on, it's even hotter now. I was dying today when I left the house for a little bit. I'm like, God, I can't even breathe through this fucking thing. So I really want life back one of these days soon. Need some wrestling back, some regular wrestling, so we can get back to business as usual here. Booker T. Booker T's crazy, but I like him a lot more than Jerry Lawler. Booker T's entertaining. Booker T reminds me a lot of Dusty Rhodes, because Dusty Rhodes would just throw some shit out there and just say something like, what the fuck did that even mean? But it was hilarious kind of thing. Where Booker T, he gives you a lot of those, what the hell did he even say kind of moments, but that's what makes him great. He doesn't do it in an obtrusive way at all. He does it in an endearing way. You know, you like it. Makes you love him even more. So yeah, Booker T and Dusty have always reminded me of each other, because their commentary style was just similar to where they just said whatever entered their brain. You know, whatever came out, there was no filter there. They just sent it right back the other way. So it was pretty funny. And yeah, if you had like Booker T, you know, he could play the role of a Dusty Rhodes on Nitro, you know, Booker T on Raw every week. So I always enjoyed Booker. Sometimes he'd have you scratching your head too, but for the most part, he was funny. Yeah, his randomness is what I was trying to say there, Devlin. Thank you. Yeah, just extremely random. He'd just have some random-ass thing come in his head, and he'd say it without thinking first. And luckily, he never said anything bad that got him in any trouble. I don't recall him calling move a ramen noodle moonsault or anything. Yeah, what happened to freaking Madden, man? Is it Dio or Theo? I liked him. Thought he was good. Got F5'd. Thought I read a story about him wanting to get back into the ring. That's why they took him off commentary, because he wants to start wrestling again. But I haven't heard anything about it since. So whatever he's doing, I hope he's doing all right, because I really like the kid. I thought he offered like a fresh flavor too on the announce team, because he was a new face along with Vic Joseph, all in one team there, being anchored by Lawler, which I thought was, you know, unnecessary. But it was just something, you know, fresh. I'm like, oh my God, 2 brand new guys. I liked it, but didn't last long. And they should have given him a better shot. The commentary team isn't the problem. You know, like WWE, to even change that, to take the time to change the commentary team 6 times, but not to change other things that suck, you know, and the commentary team arguably didn't even suck some of the times they changed it. They do not seem to be able to make up their mind there. At least Cole and Corey together seem relatively stable, and they're probably not going to shuffle that too much around on SmackDown. At least we have SmackDown that seems cemented, but Raw just still feels loose. The Samoa Joe doesn't even feel like it's going to be permanent, because at some point when he can get back in the ring, somebody will fuck with him on commentary and they'll fight, and that'll lead to a match or something, and then he'll be back in the ring, and the next thing you know, we got Lawler sitting back in that seat again that Joe kept warm for him. So I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, Austin, I'd be fine with a 2-man team as well. I'd have no problem with that. I think with SmackDown being a 2-man team already, Raw maybe should have a 3-man team, just to keep it different, I suppose, and give, you know, a lot of employed announcers a spot. I don't know what the deal with NXT is at the moment. You know, their commentary team, Beth hasn't been on, or maybe she has, but the 3-man team hasn't been the norm. We've seen Morrow by himself, and we've seen some kind of different versions of it, but I'm hoping when everything goes back to normal, NXT will go back to the way they were. What's going on, Ian? Good to see you. Brian, it's the F5. You're never the same after one. Yep, poor Madden got F5'd, and that was it for him. Did Michael Cole really say somebody was suffering anal bleeding? Michael Cole. And then Booker T said, what? Tell me he didn't say that. That stunned Booker T so much, he stole someone else's catchphrase. That's great. Yeah, CM Punk was great on commentary, too. A lot of people want to see CM Punk as the hacker. I don't know. I doubt it. Don't know who the hacker's going to be. We'll talk about that this week. So anyway, all right, we've been over an hour here. Nothing really else to talk about. Audience is kind of low tonight. I don't think a lot of people watched Raw, so I'm going to go ahead and bounce on out of here. Like I said, check back on the channel probably tonight, next day or two. I'll have the link up for Thursday's watch along, but we will be going up at same time as Raw ends. Wherever you live, whatever time Raw ends, that's the same time we're going to be going live on Thursday, and I'll have a link posted there. We're going to watch Classic Monday Night Raw from 2006, and then after that, I'll be back up here on Saturday for another podcast. So you guys take care and be good. I appreciate you hanging out tonight, and have a good week. I'll talk to you soon.